I'll explain it to you. Did you intend to go into this building? Yes. And that's trespassing? Yes. And then you stole something? Yes. So that's burglary. Please listen. You don't have to answer why. I don't have to answer why did someone rob this fucking gas station? Just that they did. That's not an element of a crime. Jeff, what's going on? What is your take?
Okay. And I wouldn't be surprised if I got kicked here, but Trump has 88 charges proven he's innocent, prove he's not innocent. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of weird because it used to be 91 or 99. I don't know. I got 99 problems, but I mean, you know.
It actually used to be 88. It used to be 88, and then it went to 91, and then it came back to 88. So I don't really call it a win.
Why do you? Well, it's definitely not a win, but it's a step in the right direction. Why do you think it's a win? Do you think it's a win or a loss, Tommy? Or Jaden, whichever.
I do not think it's a win.
So do you think it's a loss? So
especially since it was dismissed without prejudice, meaning that it's likely that the prosecutor can reintroduce them with more substantial evidence to support the case. Reason why they dropped it is because the terminology, the language used in the indictment was too vague for them to conjure up a defense. So whether or not they reintroduce that is anyone's guess, but I think it's likely that they will.
Right, because the judge wants them to say, how are you planning on bringing your case against this charge? Because you're not specific. Are you going to argue it from this perspective or that perspective? Sure. Because what he doesn't want is them coming in and arguing multiple different ways that they violated the law in a very convoluted, gaslighty way. So he's saying be very specific.
Ooh, so you agree that they didn't bring forth their case specifically enough?
No, they brought forth the things that he had done. They had not brought the way in which he believed he violated the law. What part of what he said is a violation of the law?
So the motive, right? Wait, hang on. He believed or what he done?
So Donald Trump said, find me X amount of votes. Okay. How is that a solicitation of a violation of oath of office? In what way? What supporting evidence do you have?
Yeah, exactly. It's not. That's the point.
Please stop talking. These are the allegations ahead of him. Okay.
Right. And why would they?
So this is what the judge is saying. The judge is saying, be more specific about how we violated it, how we solicited an oath of office, and what was the violent thing, and what other evidence do you have to support that? Because he doesn't want them coming in there and going, well, he said this, and this violates the oath of office because it solicits a violence. He's telling him to do this. Like, how do you plan on
slow down?
That's
okay. I got you, Tommy. I got you. Trust me. I understand what you're saying. But does this mean when Trump brought forth like voter fraud allegations, they didn't have preponderance of evidence, or didn't have bearing in the court? Like, it kind of sounds similar.
What? No.
Right. When Trump brought forth,
listen. Right. He didn't. So no, that's not. Number one, they provided the evidence. Okay. It would be like if Donald Trump provided evidence and then did not provide any context about how that evidence helped overturn the election. You see how that works?
Wait, evidence? So if you provide evidence that someone like unalive their wife,
Trump didn't
right?
do that.
Hang on. This is your premise, right? If you provided evidence that someone unalived their wife, but you couldn't provide the context, does that make them any less guilty?
Motive is not an element of a crime, but how someone did that crime needs to be. If someone unalived their spouse and you took them to court as a prosecutor said they unalived their spouse, and it was like, okay, but how? Then they would need to know that,
right? But also
they would need you to explain, like, what is the complaint against this person? What are you alleging that they did? Because if you're not specific enough about it, they're going to reject the charges. They're going to reject the charges. No, not the motive. The how. How does this violate the law?
Do you think the motive is not determinative?
Motive is not an element of the crime.
Police officers.
Please listen. Go ahead. Motive is not, nor has it ever been, an element of a crime. You're not going to get a conviction without a motive, but a motive is not an element of a crime.
Wait, you're saying I'm gonna Google this. Hang on. Elements of a crime. If motives is not one of them.
Elements of a crime is concurrence.
Elements of a crime.
It is
not one of them being motive.
Mens reis. It is concurrence. Not one of them is motive.
Wait, what has been mens reis?
The guilty mind.
Right, which is motive.
Intent.
Right.
Intent,
so if exactly the intent comes from.
Oh my fucking God.
Sorry, go ahead.
Dude.
It is motive though. It's motive.
I went to school for this. It's not motive. Intent is not motive. Motive is why you did something. Intent is you meant to do it.
Hang on. You can't have intent without motive.
Yes, you can.
Wait, how do you mean to do something without?
Yes, watch. I'll explain it to you. Did you intend to go into this building? Yes. And that's trespassing? Yes.
Why?
And then you
Why
stole
did you
something?
go into
Yes.
that
So that's
building?
burglary. Please listen. You don't have to answer why. I don't have to answer why did someone rob this fucking gas station, just that they did. That's not an element of a crime.
I agree, but don't you agree that like if you can prove motive, that's more determinative of the crime?
Motive is
why
important
is that so,
for
why are you guys so
Please stop. Please stop.
Sure,
listen
go ahead.
to me because you're not listening because I've already answered this question.
Dude,
motive
I'm listening.
is important. Motive is important for a crime. Okay? Motive is important for a crime in court. Because if you don't have motive, the jury, no, it doesn't. If you don't have motive, the jury is sitting there going, well, why would he have done this? So you have to, in a criminal proceeding, provide a motive. It's not an element of the crime, though. An element of the crime is, did you do it? Did you intend to do it? Did those two thoughts happen in relatively similar time frames? And that's the element of the crime. There's a couple of other ones that are like less used, but those are the three main elements of a crime. Motive is not one of them.
Okay, so motive. Okay, so elements of a crime. I'm gonna look this one up. Hang on.
I will. Thanks. I'll look it up for you too.
I agree with you. Elements of a crime.
Elements of a crime. The first, the act or conduct, actus reus. The second, the individual's mental state at the time of the act, mens rea. And third, the causation between the act and the effect. Typically either proximate causation or but-for causation. There's a couple others they didn't include.
Okay, I agree.
Those are the three main ones. Okay?
Sure, I agree with that. Can I say what motive is, though? Because you're right about that.
It doesn't matter. It's not one of the elements of a crime.
Well, you're right about that.
Is.
The prosecution doesn't have to prove the defendant had it, right? Instead, the prosecutors try to establish motive in order to convince the jury that the defendant is guilty. Ooh. So I guess, I mean, you're right about that, but they try to prove motive is like, if you can prove that, then the jury's going to believe you. So there you go.
It's not necessary.
But it is not an
you're
element
right. You're right. It's
of
not.
the crime.
You're right. I was wrong. It's not an element of crime. You're right about that. I'm sorry. See, age flexible, but it is a critical component of proving that you're right to the jury.
It is a good thing to be able to convince the jury that the person had a reason to do it. But sometimes there isn't a reason. Like a mass unaliving. There's no real reason. There's no real motive besides violence.
But I'll say this.
You don't have to have a motive in that case.
But Tommy, if someone like tries to prove the motive and they're wrong about that motive, right? Let's say like the legacy media, right? Isn't that indicative of kind of like something, right? Does that make sense?
I don't know what you're getting at.
No.
What is your question?
Yeah, so
how does this relate to? How does this
like,
just really quick? Let me cut to it. How does this relate to Donald Trump?
Sure, because they say his motive for the top secret documents was to sell to an Australian billionaire to like expose American secrets, right?
No. I don't know who they is, but no, that was that's what we suspected because he is a con man, but that's not what.
Do you want me to like show you some like legacy media clips on what they said Trump did?
Yeah, they probably assumed he was selling him. That doesn't mean that he was, and he wasn't selling them. He kept them for bragging rights. I thought that he was selling them at first because that's the type of person that he is, but he kept them for bragging rights, which is even fucking worse. Like, what a worse criminal. You didn't get anything out of it besides bragging rights?
So I love this. So you can't prove a motive, right? So let's say that.
I'll just simplify it for you. You can
I don't
prosecute
have to prove
with
a motive.
intention, but without motive.
I know you don't, but wouldn't it be convincing if you could?
Intent.
Sorry, go ahead, Jade.
I was saying you can prosecute with intention, but without motive. But the same cannot be true with the reverse. You can't.
I agree, but what case is stronger, one with motive or one without?
There is a motive.
Wait, answer the question. What case is stronger, one with motive or one without?
So one with motive, and there is motive in this case.
What's Trump's motive then? So you agree Trump does have a motive?
I never said he didn't. You said the motive was him selling it, which I thought that's not the motive though. The motive was that he wanted them for bragging rights. He wanted them to be able to show off to people. He wanted them because he viewed them as his personal property.
Okay. Okay, so you honestly think this was Trump's motive for taking classified documents?
This is what he's openly said.
Like, don't you think he was?
What
I thought he was smarter than that.
No,
that's not an argument.
So you agree that his motive makes a difference?
No.
To his criminal conduct? No. It doesn't matter in this. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so it doesn't matter what he was. Wait, hang on. So, Tommy, it doesn't matter what he was trying to do with those classified documents?
No.
Wait, it can't be both.
It
does or it doesn't?
It does or doesn't what?
It does or it does not matter what Trump was trying to do with those classified documents.
His motive is irrelevant. His intent to retain is.
Okay, so perfect. So even if Trump was trying to sell these,
the only thing that matters in this case is that he intended to retain them, which he did. The motive of why, as stupid as it is apparently for bragging rights.
Wait, so you admit that like you have a double standard?
That is not a double standard.
I don't.
You want me to tell you what the double standard is? You agree that taking... Wait, do you think that taking classified documents is, if you're not the president or vice president, is legal or illegal?
It is illegal.
Perfect.
It's illegal.
Then you agree, right? Then you agree. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Right. You're talking about motive. Why they take it is what we're not concerned with. It's their intent to take it in the first place that constitutes criminality.
Right, but you already admitted you can't prove motive.
You don't need to
prove motive. You
already
admitted you can't prove motive.
What do you mean? I say
because it's irrelevant in a
potential motive, but it's irrelevant.
Exactly.
To the court.
All you did was admit that there could have been a motive.
Oh my God.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it doesn't matter for the crime at all, whether there's a motive or whether there's not. It's like a weird argument you're making. You're saying like, it's important for the case. It's important for the case, but it doesn't matter. You don't need one.
Remember the question that I asked, though? Do you remember?
The point that I made after that?
Hang on. The only question that I asked is, do you agree that both Biden and Trump broke the law by retaining classified documents? Yes or no?
Again, the difference is intent.
No.
Well, I find this funny. Hold on. I find this funny. I find this hilarious, okay? For two reasons. One, because not only was there no intent found in the report, Robert Hur stated there's no motive. There's no reason. There's none. There's not even a speculative reason. There's no reason. There's no intent. And there's no motive in the report. Donald Trump, well, we can speculate to the intent, which he just walked around showing these documents off to people, so it would make sense that it was for bragging rights. There's clearly intent. So I don't know what your argument is here.
Again, are you believing Robert Hur's testimony?
Are you disbelieving?
Am I believing Robert?
Wait, I asked you a question. No, I believe it fully. I'm asking you a question.
I would say that I believe most of the report. Yeah, I don't believe the executive summary, but yeah, I believe the report. The report was well put together.
Okay, so most of it, right?
With some exceptions, yeah.
Right. So then how are you using this as like a counter argument to what I'm saying about Trump?
Because your argument because this is the authority. This is the authority on the investigation.
You yourself agreed that hers is not an authority.
No, I never said that.
He's not.
Who said that?
Robert Hur
because
very
you
clearly,
agree that...
Listen. Robert Hur very clearly put some politically motivated shit in here that's not backed up by the evidence in his own report. This executive summary is bullshit. So such as that Joe Biden has a memory issue because Joe Biden gave the date his son died on in a 5-hour interview over 2 days after the Hamas attack on Israel, where he's already stressed the fuck out. They're asking him questions and he's going like, when did that happen? And that's what Hur points to, despite the fact that Joe Biden told him when his son died.
Right. So then you disagree with his testimony then?
I disagree in part, yeah.
Right. How would you use that?
So here's the thing. I disagree with this character. Listen. I disagree with this characterization of the evidence. All of that evidence is in the report.
Wait, so you disagree? So again, if you disagree with his character, then you disagree with every single thing he said.
Caricaturization. I disagree with Robert Hur's characterization of the evidence.
Right.
Of all the times we've debated,
but what do you agree with? What do you agree with him on?
Hey guys, if you are enjoying the show, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. And if you want to support the channel, you guys can become a YouTube member on this channel, or preferably join the Patreon in the link tree in the bio. Also in the link tree is my TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, and the OK Hi YouTube, which I post news to on a regular basis. Enjoy the rest of the show.
The facts of the case, that there's not a motive or intent.
The facts of the case?
Right. Yes. Okay, listen, man.
There's no established intent.
There is the narrative that Robert Hur puts together in here, and then there's the evidence. The evidence is laid out crystal clear, okay? And that evidence does not substantiate the claims that Robert Hur makes in this report. Like, for instance, Biden's mental state. In the transcript, Biden absolutely knew when his son died. He pointed to three things of Joe Biden looking back going, when did that happen? And then going, he has mental issues. What Robert Hur did not include was saying that anybody else that was involved with Joe Biden had somehow mental issues or memory issues, even though in every single instance, the people that they talked to under the Biden administration that handled those documents, every single one of them had significant gaps in their memory. Every single one of them. And he said nothing about that. He said nothing about their memory.
Okay, but was the investigation into them or Joe Biden?
It doesn't matter. Why would he not include...
Matter. Wait, hang on. So do you believe
why would he not? So
not
if
believe?
This was the argument, if his argument was against prosecution, why did he not make the argument that the witnesses in it have memory problems and that's why as well?
Because he wasn't making that argument. That's why. Because he's not biased. Robert, hang on. Hur was like, yeah, I read the report. I watched the commission. Hang on. Hang on. Just because you don't read something isn't determinative on whether you're right or wrong. Would you agree?
Okay, so you didn't read it.
I would say
I just told you, hang on. I just told you I read it. Hang on. I just told you I read it.
Then why would you ask that
and then I asked you I asked you a question. Just because you don't read something, does that mean you aren't you can't make a determining factor on this thing?
If you don't know the facts of the case, I'd say
wait, you can't answer it.
Yeah, but this is why. But this is
okay. So
please stop.
Hang on.
HVAC.
So perfect. You answer it.
All right, you're muted now. Awesome. Okay. This is the problem, is that you're taking the characterizations that were made in here, okay, that were made in this report. You are taking the characterizations at face value. We read the full report. We've seen what the evidence that Robert Hur had and the special counsel, their entire investigative team. They lay out the evidence concisely. The conclusions that they draw are not supported by the evidence in this document. That's the point.
Okay. One conclusion that he drawn that wasn't supported. Name one.
I just told you the memory issue.
We just did.
Okay, so again, do you think, what was you're saying that Joe Biden remembers everything, but he remembers he doesn't remember he remembers his son's birthday.
He remembers the day that his son died. Robert Hur took
I agree.
Robert Hur took his quote out of context. He asked him.
That's on Robert Hur.
Robert. Yes, I know. But Robert Hur used those questions to draw a conclusion where Joe Biden's like, when was I? Right? When was I was I still vice president then? Like trying to remember back, which I think is a normal human thing to do. Robert Hur asked him when his son died. He said on May 31st. And then he said, in what year was that? And then he ended up answering the year. And Robert Hur used
which was that. Not correct?
Robert Hur used, no, it was correct. He just had to try and remember it.
Robert Hur
used that. Robert Hur used that to try and illustrate that Joe Biden had memory issues. But Joe Biden answered the question.
Okay, Tommy, hang on. Do you agree that there was a 5-hour transcript between Hur and Joe Biden? Yes or no?
Yeah.
We agree.
Yes,
okay, so
point
out, because I generally disagree with your narrative on how it went, right? I disagree. So you're making the claim, right, that Robert Hur asked when his birthday was, his late son's, right?
He died.
Right. And Joe Biden, he remembered the date, but couldn't remember the year.
Yes. Which I'd say is arguably more impressive that he knew the exact day as opposed to year.
So wait, are you saying this is determinative that Robert Hur is lying or what? What's your point?
You're saying his
Robert Hur. Okay, so Robert Hur is biased, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Trump appointee. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So did you actually watch him give his testimony? That guy seems
for Congress.
He actually. Why would the Republicans try to question him in such an aggressive way, just like the Democrats did, right?
They tried to question him in an aggressive way.
They were dissatisfied by the findings.
Right, because they did not like the fact that they came to the conclusion that he did not violate the law because there was no evidence. That's why they went after him.
Either you believe or you don't believe her. Do you believe him or you don't?
Stop
we didn't say we don't.
Talking. Okay. Robert Hur, listen, this is the problem with your argument. Robert Hur's information that he put out on the actual crime, or the alleged crime, on the investigating, did Joe Biden do this? spot on. Why? Because it doesn't require anybody to fucking come to a fucking narrative about what happened. He put it out there. The evidence overwhelmingly showed that he did not, well, he did do stuff wrong. He didn't do anything criminal. That's what the evidence showed, period. Okay? The evidence showed that he did not commit any crimes. When it came to Robert Hur narrating, okay, that required him to make determinations about this shit. And when he made determinations about it, he's wrong. It's not like an argument to go like, oh, well, you dissected the information and this is what you took away from it. Yes, Robert Hur caricaturized Joe Biden's mental state, period. He didn't do that with anybody else. He did it only with Joe Biden, and he did it with a handful of questions that were asked. And in one instance, at least, he lied. He lied.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
What was Hur's motive for protecting Trump?
What do you mean his motive for protecting Trump?
What?
I don't know what that means.
You just agreed he went after Joe Biden, right? Like he said some things that weren't necessarily true, were like kind of biased, correct? Yes.
He said things that were biased towards Donald Trump, right? They did not lay out the facts.
So tell me what his motive was.
His motive was to get a fucking Trump appointment, which is what Swalwell asked him if he would reject the Trump appointment, and he wouldn't answer. He wants a Trump appointment.
Wait, let me ask you this. So
I don't know what's
do you see how okay, I'm gonna ask you a question, okay? Calm down. So you're saying that you know beyond a reasonable doubt that Robert Hur made these testimonies because he wanted an appointment in the Trump administration.
What is
do you
Robert,
see what the
let me
problem
ask you a
is?
question is. Let me
it's
ask you a question.
Conjecture.
It is conjecture.
It's called conjecture.
It's conjecture, right? That's my opinion, yeah. So
okay,
but
sure.
let me ask you a question. What is Robert Hur?
He's a special prosecutor appointed by the DOJ.
He's a lawyer, right? He's a qualified lawyer.
Just like Jack Smith, sure.
I'm just asking you, he's a qualified lawyer. So he would be qualified.
Just like Jack Smith,
right. So he would be qualified as a prosecutor to investigate and determine if criminal charges have been done or if criminal prosecution is warranted, correct?
I think he ought to be the most unbiased pick.
I'm just asking. He is a lawyer.
Yeah,
and he's coming to determinations about what happened, what Joe Biden did, what he knew, what the facts of the case are, and whether or not he could get a conviction, right? That's all under his purview. What the evidence is against Joe Biden, he's perfectly qualified to determine, that Joe Biden didn't do anything wrong or that he did, and what the evidence is for that. So why is he making medical determinations? He's not a fucking doctor.
Wait, what medical determination did
about
he make?
mental state? Why is he doing that? He's not a doctor, and nor could he do that in court. Nor could he do that in court. In court, he would have to bring in a professional.
Wait, what did he say exactly? Did he not say this? Can I finish? So, did he not say that like a jury of his peers could not come to a conclusion based off his mental status? So he's just saving people a lot of time and money.
That's not why they're not charging him. No, that has nothing to do with why they're not charging him. That right there is the problem. Jeff, stop. That's the problem. That's the problem I had with reading the report. Is the reason they didn't charge him is not because of his memory. That's not why they didn't charge him. They didn't charge him because they didn't find any fucking evidence. That's why. Nothing. Nada. Zero. It's completely unnecessary for them to include that. Do you know why? Because there's no evidence. There's no evidence of anything.
So tell me, what evidence do they have on Trump?
For his documents? Okay, awesome, cool. Okay. Please let me finish. You want the evidence. They have the people that moved the boxes out of the White House. They have the pilots that are going to be testifying. They have different people that are going to be testifying that helped move them that did not know what they were. They have Walter Inada that's going to be testifying. They have Carlos de Oliveira that's going to be testifying. Carlos de Oliveira has evidence showing that Donald Trump asked him to delete video footage from a private server, ironically enough, of Donald Trump going to the documents that he told the DOJ he didn't have. Donald Trump was contacted for months, for over a year and a half, telling him to turn back over the documents. He was handed a specific list of the documents that he was supposed to turn over and said he didn't have them. His lawyer's first one, Evan Corcoran, didn't believe him, so he wouldn't sign off on it. Donald Trump signed off on the affidavit lying that he had them or that he didn't have them.
Tommy, what point would you want to talk about first?
I was just laying out the thing.
Yeah,
Donald Trump took documents. Yeah. Donald Trump told the DOJ and NARA he didn't have them.
Hang on, Tommy.
Hold on, I'm just going through the evidence really quick. Donald Trump lied about having documents. He said he did not have the document that he showed off in the audio tape to those multiple different people. There's evidence that he directed Walter Inata to go to the documents, to go through them and find out what was classified and what was not. Walter Inata is going to be testifying. There's a whole bunch of shit.
Wait, Tommy, okay, slow down, okay? I can say a bunch
what evidence
of things
do you want?
too.
Okay, I'll focus on this.
Sure.
Donald Trump was told, focus on this. Donald Trump was told, turn over this document. And the document was a plan of attack against Iran. He was told that by NARA. He was told that by the DOJ. Donald Trump signed an affidavit. Hold on a second. Donald Trump signed an affidavit saying, I don't have it. Okay. He then months later showed that document off at Mar-a-Lago to 4 people that did not have security clearances. This was on audio tape.
Talk about it. Perfect. Sure. Let's talk about it. Okay, so are you sure Trump signed an affidavit or was it his lawyers?
Trump signed the affidavit.
Oh, Trump signed an affidavit. Show me that.
I can't show you. It's in court documents.
No way in hell Trump would sign an affidavit. That's
yes, Evan Corcoran told him this. Evan Corcoran has already said this publicly.
Oh, okay, but you don't have proof, though.
No, they do have proof. It's in the indictment.
I'm asking you for proof right now.
Stop talking. Pull it up for you. I don't know if they produced it or not.
Just because. I think it was his lawyers that signed the affidavit, by the way.
Right here in a sworn statement signed April.
No way in hell.
This is the title. Trump. They did because Evan Corcoran refused to sign it for him. Judge rejects Trump's affidavit saying he doesn't have any documents sought by New York's Attorney General.
What source is that?
Hold on. This is from the judge. In a sworn statement signed April 27th, Trump wrote, to the best of my knowledge, I do not have any of the documents requested in the subpoena dated December 1st, 2021 in my personal possession. He said any records would be in the possession of the Trump organization. He has authorized them to comply with the subpoena.
Okay. And he was wrong?
Mr. Trump's personal affidavit is completely devoid of any useful detail. Notably, it fails to state where he kept the files, how his files were stored in regular course of business, who had access to such files, what, if any, of the retention policy was for files, and importantly, where he believes such files are currently located.
There you go. So that proves what?
That Donald Trump lied.
No,
Donald Trump signed an affidavit that he did not have these documents. Donald Trump was contacted by NARA.
Wait, that's not what Tommy, you just read the affidavit, but then you just said it said something different. Read it again.
What the are you talking about? This is what Trump, in the sworn statement signed April 27th, Trump wrote, to the best of my knowledge, I do not have any documents requested in the subpoena dated December 1st, 2021 in my personal possession.
Okay, what documents?
The documents that they requested back.
Okay, so like he could have been right about those specific documents. Right? Did he not send some of them back?
Wait, what was the date on that, Tommy?
It was April.
Okay.
Right. We agree that Trump actually did send documents.
We know that
back,
he didn't because the ones that they were looking for were the ones he stated as having, both in emails, both in recorded conversations, et cetera, et cetera.
So if they knew which ones,
itemized list.
But do you see what the problem is there, Jaden? Right? If they knew which ones they were missing, right? How come they didn't know they were missing the ones from like Biden and Obama?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that they were investigating that nobody knows.
Well, I mean, it seems kind of sus, right? But
well,
I
will tell you this. I will tell you this. The documents that Donald Trump had are far more sensitive than anything that Joe Biden had. Not even remotely comparable. We know because
how do you know that?
Because we know what the documents were. We know that 13 of the documents Donald Trump can't be charged with.
So you admit Jack Smith was looking at documents illegally? Because he doesn't have the right to look at top secret DOD, like...
We do not care.
I feel like
that is such a dumb statement. Jeff, I said don't embarrass yourself. I got some throwing out some people. They wanted him gone and I was tired of it. So Jack Smith, okay, if he does not have the ability, they go through what's called SEPA, okay, which is basically the intelligence community will go over documents, say this is what can be done in accordance with SEPA, like this is how we release the information, and then that information will be summarized, sometimes a general idea of what it can be, sometimes redacted information. It just depends on what the document is, and then they're handed back to the lawyers. And frequently these lawyers will have security clearance to a degree so that they can review the documents.
Yeah, they provide the classification level, they provide a brief description, and they provide the dates.
Right. And so when Jack Smith goes over them, people that are professionals, that are intelligence professionals, will go over the information and see what they can give. 13 of them are so sensitive they can't even be given back. We know what Joe Biden had because while the information obtained in them is sensitive, it had to do with the Afghanistan war, which is old, but B, it's not as significant, It's not as serious as Donald Trump had, because for that was older. It revealed methods and all that other stuff, which is a problem, but it doesn't rise to criminality.